Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Now, there could be several players set to leave Manchester United this month. One of those could be Antony, and he may be heading to Greece. Delighted to welcome Greek football journalist Kostas Lianos to the show. Thanks very much for joining us, Kostas. Really appreciate it. What is your information regarding Antony, please?
Well, thank you for having me, of course, as always. As Darmeshev exclusively revealed for Sky Sports yesterday, there is interest in Manchester United player Antony from teams in Spain and Greece. And I can confirm that the Greek club is indeed Olympiakos. Now, the team have denied interest in Antony, but my sources who are extremely close to the situation insist there is indeed interest in Antony in January. This is Olympiakos are interested in a loan deal. What I'm hearing is Olympiakos are willing to offer 1.5 to 2 million euros as a loan fee for the next 6 months, with an option to buy at around 18 million euros. So a total package of 20 million euros. Now, we could see Olympiakos being able to afford the loan fee, but when it comes to the buyout clause, that's not the kind of money Olympiakos spend. They haven't done so for a very long time. Now, Antony's agent spoke to my esteemed colleague Johnny Georgopoulos yesterday, and he did say that a move to Olympiakos right now would be difficult, and a deal for Antony right now seems unlikely. Now, let's not forget there's interest from other teams as well. This is going to be a very busy January transfer window for Olympiakos, who want to sign a top name at the wings. Olympiakos have been lacking in attack this season compared to last term, when they lost two important players in longtime captain Kostas Fortounis and former Wolves player Daniel Podence, who are among the most important players that led Olympiakos to their historic Europa Conference League triumph in Athens.
No secret, is it, that he has struggled for form since joining Man United? Is there a feeling, though, that he can return to that form that he showed at Ajax?
Well, I mean, since 2013, we've seen a lot of star players coming in for a lot of money at Man United and struggling, such as Paul Pogba, Angel Di Maria, Alexis Sanchez, and now Antony. Of course, Olympiakos is the kind of club that would be able to give a player like Antony different opportunities. Greek football loves a dribbler. They love an entertainer. But of course, Olympiakos, I expect them to be a lot more careful in this January window, as they have seen quite a lot of big names coming in for big money and failing to live up to expectations. Most recently, Willian, who came in as a free agent in September and only lasted for 3 months. And before him, the likes of Sime Vrsaliko, Marcelo, James Rodriguez. Olympiakos can be quite the second chance saloon, but the expectations would still be very high for any player like Antony, any player of that kind of caliber. They would expect the player to deliver, to be a leader, and to impress on the pitch. Olympiakos would be a different kind of opportunity compared to Manchester United and what we've seen in the last few years. But demands from the club, from the team, from the manager, José Luis Mendilibar, and the fans would be extremely high. Nevertheless, Olympiakos are looking for a top name at the wings. This is going to be a very busy January for Olympiakos, I expect.
OK, you mentioned top names there. Who else are Olympiakos interested in signing from the Premier League?
Well, another player that is being mentioned a lot here in Greece is Newcastle's Miguel Aliron. What we've been hearing since last summer is that Newcastle, who are keen on a deal for Aliron, were asking for £10 million, which, again, this is not the kind of money Olympiakos usually spend. But now we're hearing it has dropped to £5 million, which is a lot closer to Olympiakos' standards. But of course, there's intense competition for Aliron from the MLS in Charlotte, as well as Brazil in Sao Paulo, Botafogo, and Santos. Again, Olympiakos looking for a major addition in the wings this January, as they have high hopes, high standards. This is their 100-year anniversary, and Olympiakos' among the real goals is to win the Europa League after winning the Conference League last season. And another name we're hearing a lot of is at left back that Olympiakos really need to add into, and that is Sergio Reguilón from Tottenham, which is a much more doable situation because his contract at Tottenham runs out in June, and he has the same agent as Willian, who is very close to Olympiakos and the Marinakis and Vangelis Marinakis. And that is why Willian's exit from Olympiakos was so smooth, without any drama or financial issues.
Excellent talking to you, Kostas. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Just before we get to Antony, Dan, I just want to touch on something that David Ornstein of The Athletic has reported, and that is that Borussia Dortmund are amongst the clubs that are interested in Marcus Rashford, particularly in a loan deal. Do you think that would be a good deal for Rashford?
It'd be very interesting, wouldn't it? And first of all, these two clubs have a bit of a history in the last decade or so for doing business together. Manchester United have bought the likes of Shinji Kagawa, Henrik Mkhitaryan in the past, and Borussia Dortmund have also looked the other way in terms of interest in players. We saw what they were able to do with Jadon Sancho, having a return for him last season on loan. And it does make sense if you're Borussia Dortmund, because if they do lose someone like Daniel Marlin, who's been linked with Aston Villa in particular, then they'll need a winger. They play a 4-1 kind of two behind a striker type formation. And actually, if you add Marcus Rashford into that three behind a striker with the likes of Julian Brand, Karim Adeyemi, Jamie Gittins as well, that would be a really exciting, pacey front three behind a striker. So it would be exciting. I also think if you're Marcus Rashford, he's thinking undoubtedly, how can I also, first of all, get back to playing football, but also there's a new England manager in Thomas Tuchel. Where can I play that guarantees me a bit of limelight, a bit of a showcase to get myself back into that squad? I think Borussia Dortmund would be the place, or a place, where you could potentially do that.
Yeah, good point with the German manager as well. He might appreciate going to a big German club. Let's talk about Antony, though. We heard there from Kostas, interesting news that Olympiakos very much interested in him. Is Antony one of the few players, when you hear the numbers there, so Kostas saying that it might be a loan with an option to buy, something around about 18 million euros. Does that show you that Antony, despite his struggles, is still one of the few Manchester United players that they can actually get some decent money for if they want to move them on?
Yeah, you look at Manchester United, you survey their squad, there's only a few sellable assets. You look at Marcus Rashford, who we've touched on, look at Antony, because of the age, despite the fact that he was so expensive, you're not going to recoup half the amount of money that you paid for him, but he still is a sellable asset. Look at Casemiro, maybe he's got 18 months left on his contract, and Xerxes, there's been links to a move back to Italy. But then the other players who maybe are surplus requirements at Old Trafford are older and they've got 6 months left on the contract. Look at Ericsson, you look at a Lindelof, you look at a Johnny Evans. They're not really sellable assets, so it's imperative for them to get some money for Antony if he is to leave in January. It was interesting though, Kostas said an option, not an obligation.
Yeah.
And so that's very, very important. We don't know how Antony's going to perform. He said that they love a dribbler in Greece, but we don't know if Antony is of that level. Olympiakos are still a huge club. And so the fact that it's only an option may deter Manchester United, because they need to make sure they get guaranteed money for Antony, because like I said, he's one of the few sellable assets.
Yeah, but they could take a risk, obviously, and just hope that he does well, and then obviously his value then retains or even goes up slightly. What about Victor Gyökeres? Because we are hearing that he is told Sporting that he will stay in January, but he wants to go in the summer to a top club. Do you think Manchester United will go in for him in the summer?
I think when you bear in mind the links with the manager and how well he's done under that manager previously, it's clear that Manchester United do need a little bit of a revamp up front. They look toothless at times and haven't got that proven marksman, and he is now at the top level, the proven marksman. I think a lot of Premier League clubs, a lot of big European clubs will be kicking themselves that they didn't go in for him when he left Coventry, because look at the price he's going to go for now. It's going to be over double, isn't it, if he leaves? So obviously, for Sporting, it's great that he's going to stay and see out the season. I don't think he was ever going to leave them in January, but that will be one that not just Manchester United, a host of big European clubs will be looking at in the summer.
Yeah, agreed. There could be a few after him, I think, in the summer, if he is available.